let me slowly slide into these three philosophers, which I believe, I hope we're going to have enough time so I can tell you more about them one by one, but if not, we can tackle that issue when you have your questions. There are three starting points. For example, for Dostoyevsky, there is a tragedy of human existence and human freedom. So for Dostoyevsky, freedom is dangerous. So when you are free to decide and free to act, you are going to suffer. And that suffering for Dostoyevsky is actually absolutely necessary path to redemption. So without suffering, great suffering, you will never come to that moment of discovering God or faith. And this is why every single hero, every main character of Dostoevsky in all his novels is actually the one who suffers tremendously. Prince Mishkin in Idiot, Alyosha in Brothers Karamazov, Underground Man in The Man from Underground, and obviously Raskolnikov in Crime and Punishment. So for Dostoevsky, his existentialism is religious, is psychological, and is tragic. Now for Nietzsche, existentialism is all about is liberation from morality. So Nietzsche despises morality, and he uses that term in the pejorative sense, something negative, because it has been imposed on humanity from religion. So humans, who are all different, cannot have morality which is absolutely the same for everyone. So religion or communism or socialism, you have the same story in a different clothing. So when you impose the same measures to all, you're cutting the heads of people who are a little bit taller, but what are you doing? You're giving them more room for people who are shorter. And these are the people, as Nietzsche will call them, the last men, who will be happy with this extra imposition of morality and values. For Sartre, is absolutely radical atheism. There is no God. And for that reason, we live in absolute freedom. We are free to act. We are free to choose. And even not making a choice is a choice. But there is a catch. For Sartre, responsibility, again, goes very close with our free choices. So, as he explains in all his novels, brilliant novels, you will see that thing is absolutely non-negotiable. So there is no God, and we live in ultimate, absolute freedom. But he says we are condemned to freedom because there is nothing easy about being free. What are you going to do when nobody thinks for you? Immanuel Kant, for example, called the immaturity as one's inability to live his life without the guidance of another. So how beautifully this is said. And that doesn't have to do anything with age. You can be immature even when you're 80 years old. So this old floskula about age and wisdom, no. It just doesn't work like that. So immaturity is inability to live one's own life without the guidance of another. And this is exactly what Sartre takes as a pillar of his existential philosophy. Now, when it comes to the question of God, for Dostoevsky has a problem. He wrestles with God in all his novels. He is not necessarily convinced that religion is right, although he criticizes heavily Catholicism in a Great Inquisitor especially, which is the 5th book in Brothers Karamazov. And he is in favor of Orthodox Christianity, but he is not 100% clear about that. So he wrestles with that because he introduces Ivan, who is an atheist. And Ivan, who is Alyosha's brother, throws the beautiful story of Grand Inquisitor and actually denies everything that religion in general offers to humanity. So Dostoevsky was never 100% clear about religion. Is it right or not? contrary to Tolstoy, for example, who completely rejected religion, even his own Orthodox Christianity, as a manipulated, corrupted institution which has nothing to do with Jesus' teaching. And by accident, I have written as well about that. So if you're interested, you can read my article on Nietzsche and Jesus on academia. It's published there, academia.edu. And I debate my view about Jesus' teaching, and you will see how little that has to do with everything you know about religion, and Christianity especially. It has nothing to do with the story that we have been sold. There is so much to be said, but I want you to talk as well. So let me just quickly give you the synopsis of major works and their importance for their contribution to existential philosophy. I will start with Dostoyevsky and his phenomenal first book, which is called The Man from Underground. I wish, I hope you will all read it, who didn't, because imagine Nietzsche was absolutely impressed with Dostoyevsky and his psychological insight and analysis of human beings. And whenever we talk psychology, I had in few occasions even people here who got a degree in psychology, but they never read Dostoyevsky. And this is like, you watch football, but you never watch Barcelona or Real Madrid, for example. So really, what do you know about football? I mean, as a metaphor. So this is the pillar. Nietzsche and Dostoyevsky, especially Dostoyevsky, and Nietzsche, they are the fathers of everything that we can call psychology. And everything else that has come later in the form of Freud or Jung is a plagiarism, very cheap plagiarism. Even Jung admitted it a few times. Freud never admitted it. He lied openly to the world. But lie has short legs, so can't run long. Sooner or later he has to stop. So whoever doubts this, please do the research, and you will see what am I saying. So that great psychologist, Dostoyevsky, gives us the man from underground. He doesn't give him the name. Maybe this is symbolic, is a metaphor of everybody who is similar to that man. And this is the man who is very intelligent. He's 40 years old. He's overconscious. He overanalyzes everything. He is cynical. He is contradictory. He is isolated. He is resentful, and also painfully honest. Again, very similar to Prince Myshkin from Idiot. So every time he introduces his main character, they're all honest, very, very honest. And being as such, man from the underground despises the world outside. He is not social because he doesn't have anybody to socialize with. He is anti-rationalism, anti-utilitarianism, anti-modernity, which favors only material wealth over other forms of wealth, which are actually more important, which I like to call inner wealth, which is our moral wealth and our aesthetic wealth. So man from the underground doesn't like the world as it is. So he debates and he says, gentlemen, you are praising rationality, you are praising that the goodness comes from science and technological advances, but can you please just look at the history for a moment and let us see where we have arrived now with all our technology? You said that the world is always rational, but look at the history again. Wars, carnage, death. Is that rational? Is man rational? Are we more rational now because we have science developed and we have technology better than ever? But we are just more able to destroy. So we can actually exploit all this negativity in us and wipe out even more millions than ever before. Dostoevsky wrote this end of 19th century again. So he has foreseen where technology goes and what humanity is going to do through the individual. because he says individual is not rational. He doesn't want rationality. And explicitly, Dostoevsky says through the underground man, so you can put the man in the environment when he doesn't have to do anything, he doesn't have to work. But you will give him all the food and drink, the best that he can imagine. And he has nothing to do, just to enjoy his life and to worry about extension of the species. And then he said, what is going to happen? The man will still find a way to trick you, because man doesn't want rationality. Man is essentially irrational. So this is the message that comes from underground man. Man wants freedom to desire nonsense. And he said, you are praising science, you are praising mathematics, you are praising logic. And he says, I come to the point when I actually think, when this develops even further, you will be able to predict everybody's life. And then, what is going to be left for us to do? I will know everything that is going to happen in the future, so there's nothing to do for me. But, he says, the man is not a piano key. The man doesn't want to be just of instrumental value, which actually is the biggest objection of existentialism to the modern world, through lack of integrity. So when you lack integrity, you become piano key, and somebody will just press whenever, whatever he pleases. So basically, this is probably the first existential, the most powerful existential book ever written. So before Sartre came to his heyday, this was already laid down for Sartre. So Sartre had a much easier job to do than Dostoyevsky and Nietzsche. It's very interesting that Dostoyevsky and Nietzsche lived at the same time, but didn't know much about each other. And towards the end of his life, Nietzsche discovered Dostoyevsky, and he was very upset that he didn't discover him earlier. And he said that man was of such a magnitude that he should have lived next to Jesus in the same street. So imagine the comparison. It's just phenomenal.